Hello everyone, today we're going to be talking about why I went Shadow Forge instead of sticking with Aransu. So I've gotten a lot of questions about people asking me why am I using Shadow Forge weapon, why did I go this path instead of just sticking with my Aransu weapon and then going to Grand Celestial later on. So the main reason is rather simple. The main reason is because when you go from Aransu 9 to Shadow Forge 3 up to Shadow Forge 6 and then switch over to Grand Celestial 6, you are saving a lot of materials. Mainly you're saving a lot of premium transformation stones, for most people would want to one-shot this. So you want to stick with Aransu 9 until you get enough materials to immediately go to Grand Celestial 6, so that you immediately upgrade it and one-shot it all the way to Grand Celestial 6. So there are very few exceptions to this case, and one of these exceptions is an Earth Summoner. The reason why for the Earth Summoner it's an exception is because over here, Briar Patch, Flying Nettles, Bird Toss damage increased by 100%. Earth Summoner is one of the very few classes, other than I think Destroyer, that benefit from going Shadow Forge. There are certain conditions and there are certain niches for the Shadow Forge weapon. So one of the conditions for me is the boss has to stand still for me to maximize my damage. So comparing my Aransu 9 weapon with the Shadow Forge 3 when I originally switched over, I gained 130k DPS increase. However, this was on a parse because General Moyon does not move. And when he does not move, that means all of my nettles are maximizing damage. They have 100% uptime. My Bird Toss also has 100% uptime because the boss is not moving and he's taking all that damage. However, in a raid scenario, depending on what boss you're fighting, it might be a DPS increase or a decrease, depending on if the boss moves a lot. So for most higher end dungeons such as Vortex Temple and Twilight Temple, the boss does not move. So if we look at Twin Asuras, they don't move. When we look at the Great Thrall, he does not move. Look at Scion's Keep, the Iron Conqueror does not move. And only Hive Queen moves once in a while whenever you need to drive her when you KD. And then when we look at Twilight Temple, the first boss, the Peacekeeper, does not move. The Shield Bearer does not move. However, the Scorpion moves, as well as the Grand Celestial Emperor. So you kind of have to gauge on where you're at and what weapon is best for you. However, Shadow Forge is only good for very specific classes, such as the Earth Summoner, as I said before, or the Destroyer. However, for most classes, you do not want to stay on Shadow Forge. You want to stick with the raid path mainly because it is better. The sacrifices I'm making here is I'm losing crit chance and I'm losing crit damage. However, because my skill multiplier, because I'm getting 100% damage increase on two of my main skills that deal a lot of damage, it's worth it for me because the multiplier is so high. However, let's look at the Gunner, for example. So you can see over here, Shadow Forge for the Gunner is Moonshine decreased by 30%, which is not very useful. However, we switch to the other one, to the Sky Forge, it's Dark Shot / Awakened Dark Shot damage increased by 10%. However, we compare that with the raid path. Let's compare that with an Aransu 9 weapon for the sake of comparison. You would rather stick with the Aransu 9 because of the bonus attack power that you get. For this scenario, I'll use the Shadow Gunner as an example. You gain 245% attack power bonus on Dark Shot hit, you get 300% on Unload hit, you get 260% on Bullet Storm hit, as well as 20 Mystic damage for 10 seconds on all of those attacks. So you would rather have that because the Shadow Gunner benefits from all these multipliers as well as the stats instead of just a flat 10% damage increase. So you'd rather have all these raid bonus stats instead of just having the flat skill multiplier. And it really depends on what class you're playing as well as what your playstyle is to decide what weapon path to go on. For the majority of players, you want to just stick with Aransu 9, get to Aransu 9 and just stay there until you get your Grand Celestial weapon material to break through. And just save up enough materials to one-shot to Grand Celestial 6 through either the Sky Forge path or the Shadow Forge path. And that way you're saving a lot of materials. So I'm going to show you here, you look at Aransu 9 to Grand Celestial 6. So there's 2 paths over here that you can see. This one costs 2 premium transformation stones. This is the one that goes Shadow Forge, and over here it is 13 premium transformation stones. And other than saving 11 premium transformation stones, you're also saving a lot of Grand Celestial Steel. So we can see over here that if we take the Shadow Forge path, you only need 24 Grand Celestial Steels. While if you go the direct raid path, you're going to need 45 Grand Celestial Steels plus 5. So you're going to need 50 Grand Celestial Steels if you're going straight up from Aransu 9 to Grand Celestial 3, and then from Grand Celestial 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. So that is a lot of steel, and that is a lot of premium transformation stones. So you would much rather just save your materials, make sure that you save up, you have enough to one-shot it, go directly to Shadow Forge or the Sky Forge path, get that to stage 6, and switch over to Grand Celestial 6. That way you save a ton of materials. Obviously it does have one downside. The one downside is that it will cost a lot of Onyx scales. It will cost you 53 Onyx scales, so some of you guys may not have this many Onyx scales, but honestly, if you are on a Aransu 9, you really should be running your Dream Song Theaters as well as your Brood Chambers every day, and it really adds up really fast because in Brood Chamber, it's guaranteed to drop 1 scale every time, and even just the daily reward, you get a lot of fragments every day as well. So that's the reason why I am going Shadow Forge. I'm going to get to Shadow Forge 6, and after I get to Shadow Forge 6, if I do get the Light Stealer's armor, the chances are very high that I will switch back to the Grand Celestial weapon. The main reason is because the Grand Celestial weapon is just more convenient for me. By the time I have my Grand Celestial weapon, it will mean that my raid has been clearing boss 4 and we have a means to farm for all of this Grand Celestial Steel that I'll be needing to upgrade my weapon. So that's the reason why I will go to Grand Celestial 6. However, if you do not have a Twilight Temple raid, I recommend you guys to stick with the Shadow Forge or the Sky Forge path, or just stay on your Aransu 9 for now. Hopefully that answered your questions. If you do have any more questions about my gear or why I do certain things, just let me know in the comments below and I'll try my best to answer them, okay? And yeah, that's about it. If this video helped, I would appreciate a subscribe as it really does help out my channel. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
What can I say except you're welcome for the heals, the boosts, the rest.